So, when you hear the word democracy, what comes to mind? Probably ancient Greece, right? Philosophers in togas, big open air forums. It's a really powerful image. But what if I told you that the democracy we actually live in today isn't some ancient relic? What if it's a fragile, super recent invention with a story that's way more surprising than you think? All right, let's get into it. You know, we're always taught to draw this straight line from our modern governments all the way back 2,500 years to Athens. And it's a nice thought, right? It makes it feel like we're part of this long, stable tradition. But is that story actually true? Is our democracy really the same thing the ancient Greeks were doing? Well, the short answer is no, not even close. While the idea of ruled by the people is definitely ancient, the actual system we have today, the one built on things like universal rights, individual liberty, and representation for everybody, that is a profoundly modern creation. And once you get that distinction, it honestly changes how you see everything. To really see what I'm talking about, we have to put these two systems side by side. And you'll see pretty quickly they aren't just, different flavors of the same thing. They're practically two different worlds, operating on almost opposite principles. So check this out. In Athens, a tiny, super exclusive group of free, native-born men made every decision directly. This meant most of the population, we're talking women, slaves, foreigners living there, had zero voice. Absolutely none. Their entire system was built on exclusion. Modern democracy, on the other hand, is founded on the exact opposite ideal, that individual liberty and human rights belong to everyone, and the whole point is to be inclusive of all adult citizens. Okay, so if our modern democracy didn't just pop out of ancient Athens, where did it come from? Well, it wasn't born in a single moment. It was forged piece by painful piece in the fire of revolution and centuries of struggle. And let me tell you, this was not a smooth ride. It was basically a revolution that stretched over 300 years. You had a civil war in 17th century England just to prove a king couldn't have absolute power. Then came the explosive ideas from the American and French revolutions in the 18th century, which introduced these radical concepts that rights were universal and governments get their power from the people. And the fight just kept going through the 19th and 20th centuries, with these bitter, hard-won battles to expand the right to vote, first getting it beyond just the wealthy elite, and then, finally, to women. So when you look at that timeline of constant struggle, it becomes crystal clear. The core ingredients of our system, universal voting, protected individual rights, holding our government accountable, they only really started to take root about 200 or 300 years ago. And the whole thing didn't fully come together until the 20th century. In the grand scheme of history, it's practically an infant. Realizing just how young our democracy is forces us to confront another fact. And this one's even more startling. It is incredibly rare. This is not the default setting for human civilization. It's a fragile, delicate exception to the rule. Just stop and think about that for a second. For thousands of years of recorded history, across all these empires and kingdoms all over the globe, the idea that ordinary people should hold the power, that was seen as ridiculous, chaotic, even dangerous. It was almost unthinkable. Instead, what did we have? Humanity has been ruled by kings, emperors, noble families, and various strongmen. Systems where power is locked up with one person or a tiny group have been the overwhelming norm. When you compare it to that, democracy is just this tiny flash of light in the long, long arc of human history. Okay, so it was rare back then. But surely, in our modern, enlightened world, democracy is the standard now, right? Well, the numbers tell a very different story. So let's ask the question. Just how many truly democratic nations are there in the world today? 29. Out of nearly 200 countries on Earth. Yup. According to a really rigorous 2024 analysis from the VDEM Institute, only 29 countries actually qualify as liberal democracies. And what that means is these are places where not only do you have free and fair elections, but the rule of law, individual rights, and civil liberties are also strongly protected. It is an astonishingly small club. That number is just shockingly low. And it really begs the question, why? Why is this system, which is built on such powerful ideals, so hard to achieve and even harder to sustain? Well, that brings us to the final and honestly the most important ingredient of all. See, this is the catch. Unlike a monarchy or a dictatorship, which can be held together by force, democracy has this unique vulnerability. It doesn't run on autopilot. Its survival depends completely on the actions and the beliefs of the people living inside it. And this right here, this is the heart of the matter. A democratic system isn't some monument that, once you build it, just stands there forever. It's more like a living, breathing thing that needs constant attention and care and active defense from its citizens just to stay alive. So what does that protection actually look like in the real world? It means people like us staying informed and getting involved. It means respecting the laws and the institutions that provide stability, even when we don't like the outcome. And, maybe most importantly, it means keeping a constant, watchful eye on those in power to make sure they stay accountable to the people they're supposed to be serving. And this is exactly why understanding its history is so crucial. This young, rare system wasn't just given to us. People fought and died for it. And its biggest threat isn't always some invading army. A lot of the time, it's our own indifference. The moment we stop paying attention, the moment we stop participating, the system starts to decay from the inside out. So ultimately, this whole history leaves us with a pretty profound challenge. This system, forged over centuries of struggle and enjoyed by so few people in the world, it is not a spectator sport. It's a continuous conversation, and it absolutely demands our voices. The final question for all of us then is, are we speaking up enough to keep that conversation alive?